Welcome to the Global Energy Leaders Podcast, powered by R Squared Global.
Welcome to the Global Energy Leaders Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Ray. This is episode 33. Wow, time has flown, and now we're at episode 33. And today's guest is actually me. I know, it's kind of weird, right? I was on Jacki Pick show, the Jacki Daily Show, the other day. They were nice enough to feature me there at the Blaze Radio Networks up in Irving. And so you get to hear me being interviewed by Jacki, and this was done as a part of our promotion for our Trump Energy 100-day roundtable that we did. So if you missed that, go back and check that, and you can hear where Jacki was a member of our roundtable. And this is part of my interview. I'm not going to play the whole thing. If you want to, you can go to Jacki's show and listen to the rest, and she has all kinds of other content. If you're in oil and gas, you're in energy, she has a lot of stuff that you might find fascinating, so go check her podcast out as well. Without further ado, here's me being interviewed by Jacki Pick on the Jacki Daily Show.
You're listening to the Jacki Daily Show. You can join us online, always, at JackiDaily.com, on Facebook and on Twitter, at Jacki Daily Show, and on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play Music, FEMS International, I'm not kidding, Pegasus NetWaves, Loto Radio, KWEL, and of course the Blaze. Okay, so there are, I often say, so few people who are out there in the marketplace messaging positively or accurately or in an unbiased way on energy and environment issues. I find good information difficult to come by sometimes, although I have my go-tos. And, I've been saying this for a long time because we don't have a lot of the pro-development or pro-energy folks don't have the megaphone that some of the anti-energy folks have. So it's not that we don't exist. In fact, there are many of us out there. There's a small army of us, and if you look at the guest list on Jacki Daily Show, you'll find out who they are. So adding to my collection of effective messengers on energy and the environment, I'm lucky to have inside the studio today Ryan Ray, and he's the Director of Operations over at R Squared Global. He's also the host of Global Energy Leaders Podcast, and I will be participating in one of his panels coming up here very shortly, talking about Trump's first 100 days. And I think we're going to actually do that the first week of May, so that will be available shortly. So, Ryan, welcome to the Jacki Daily Show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
And driving all the way over from Fort Worth.
Yeah, a little bit further. That. I live down in Granbury, but a little bit further, but yeah. It's worth the drive. It's in the Metroplex.
Hey,
I love the Metroplex.
Me too. So explain for everybody what is the mission of Global Leaders Podcast? Energy Leaders Podcast.
Yeah. So I've been in the business for 12 years now, and I'm a younger guy. I'm 31, and so this kind of fits my.
He's a millennial.
Kick me off now.
But he shows up for work on time.
No, I don't. No, but seriously, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I consume a lot of media that way, audiobooks, podcasts. I read a lot. And about a year ago, maybe two, I was like, okay, where's energy news? Where's oil and gas news? And there are some podcasts out there, but I thought, if you look at the space in general, energy is a very broad topic.
Huge,
and it trickles down. It really trickles down. So when oil prices go up and oil's $100 a barrel, truck drivers have jobs, right? And you don't think about that. Well, if truck drivers have more jobs, then tires are being affected. And so there's all these trickle downs. And so I wanted to bring a show that brought in people that were willing to talk about energy, oil and gas, renewables, wherever, and just hear what they have to say. I try not to be always weighing on my opinion, but I want to hear what they say. And I've been pleased because we've had on guests that have been, big oil, we've had on renewables. And what I've learned is that the professionals, it's not as divisive. We just want to get stuff done. And a lot of people really care about helping someone get power. And that gets lost in the discussion is people need power. We got power right now. And that's important. If not, we're in Texas. We'll burn alive here in a few months. And so when you get to the professional level, it seems that, you get past the media, you get past, hey, you got 3 minutes, flamethrow at everyone. You can actually get active discussion about what's going on and where the trends are in the market.
So, what's an example of the types of guests that you have on besides Jacki Daily?
Besides Jacki Daily. Well, we've had on a wide range. We've had academic professors. We've had a couple of professors. We've had on authors. So Alex Epstein, The Moral Case of Fossil Fuels.
Yep.
We had on Gregory Zuckerman from the Wall Street Journal talking about the frackers.
Yep.
And we've had on just general professionals, Forbes 30 under 30 energy list. We've had on several of those people that have either been recorded, they're coming out, or have come out. And so we've had on guests from South Africa. I'm good friends with the former COO of Energy of South Africa, had him on, a professor in China. So all over the world, really, we try to say, if you're willing to come on and talk to us, then we want to hear what you have to say.
Mm-hmm, very good. I love the international guests. Those are some of my favorite because I just happen to like the geopolitical piece actually more than I like anything else.
Exactly.
And so that comes across, I think, on my show. I'm kind of geopolitics heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of a niche area, but I think people are interested in it more than they think they are. They don't realize the whole world section of the newspaper is mostly about energy occurrences. So, okay, so that's cool. So you started you said a year or two ago?
We started with the idea about a year or two ago.
Okay.
We actually launched fourth quarter of last year.
Okay.
And so we were doing once a week, and then we found that, okay, we think we can do more than once a week, but we really want to take it to two spots. With what you're coming on is the panel discussion. We want to have more panel discussions. So it's not just me asking questions and the guests. We want a couple different panelists, and they can be aligned or disaligned. It doesn't really matter. But just kind of hear different ideas being brought forth. And so now we've gone to a couple days a week, and then we've recently launched a new podcast that's just about Texas oil and gas, but that's still, it's like that baby giraffe everybody's talking about on Facebook, it's still kind of getting its legs, but we're really spending some time just talking about the Texas oil and gas industry because, as you know, that's its own animal, it seems. Right.
And when you're here in the middle of it, it's easy to forget not everybody lives in Texas, because what happens here is so exciting. I mean, for crying out loud, we have this amazing Permian Basin and so much is going on. It's easy for me to really just intercept a lot of stuff right here at home and want to share it because it's just that exciting. Okay, so cool. So outside of doing the podcast, you're also director of operations at R Squared Global. So now, what is that professionally? What is it that you're doing? Is it specifically energy based or no?
For the most part, we have a few offices, one in Alabama, and that office really doesn't do anything energy related. They're just a traditional civil engineering type firm. But, my history, since I've worked for the company, which has been over about 12, 13 years now, has been always in energy. And so we're an engineering firm. We do engineering, land surveying, right-of-way acquisition, project management. Internationally, what we look at is a little bit different than what we do here stateside. Stateside, our core services are going to be engineering-related type stuff. Internationally, it's more consulting and project management. That it doesn't always translate to say, hey, I'm going to go put a surveyor down in South Africa. The laws are different, and as you know, it's just not the same. So when we get outside the states, we look at it a little bit differently.
So just curious, have you had any experiences, good or bad, with eminent domain law here in Texas? Because that is a huge issue right this second in our legislature. They're billing it as energy sector versus rancher or landowner, but I'm just constantly hearing about this right now. So is that something your firm deals with?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the project. As you know, certain projects don't have the capacity. The eminent domain debate is really, sometimes it's a lot more complicated than we like to make it. And so I've seen companies that have gone in there very well and said, okay, hey, this is what we're trying to do. They've informed the public. They've gotten out in front of it. And on the back end, they have less issues. And I've seen other companies who have come in and said, hey, we're going to be really secretive about what we're doing, and then we're going to try to spring it at the end. And those are the companies that seem to have the harder times, getting the deals closed up front to prevent the eminent domain.
I hear that a lot, especially from people who have dealt with fracking fights at the local level in particular. The people who have a lot of experience with fracking fights and with eminent domain say that sometimes people just want to be heard. So if you show up in advance and you get out in front of it and you bring the community in for a town hall meeting or whatever it is and give them a chance, you tell them what's going on, make sure they're informed, give them a chance to talk to you, a lot of people will be okay with it. I think, here's my suspicion, and tell me if you agree with this. I think that probably works with the majority of the people, especially the people whose property is not directly impacted. I think it does not work with a small sliver of people who are going to be unhappy no matter what you do or don't do. The price is never right for their land or whatever. So I think what they're really saying is, yes, of course, those people will always be there, but they can't really light the fire to their movement if you talk to everyone. I'm assuming that's it. Like, I don't think the legal problems and the challenges go away. I think they just don't have the public support they might otherwise have from the majority. Would that be your impression?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And I've worked in, the Haynesville, the Barnett, the Bakken, the Permian, the Eagle Ford.
You've been around.
Yeah, well, a little bit in everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? And what you see is when you go from area to area, each landowner is different.
Mm-hmm.
So down in South Texas, how they viewed stuff compared to how they viewed it in the Haynesville was completely different. South Texas, they've been around oil and gas for so long; they were very sharp, so they knew how to play the game, right? Whereas the Haynesville owners, it was kind of a new thing for some of them; they didn't know. But the other thing I think that's kind of a lost in the discussion is during the gas boom and then the oil boom that followed, the competition was so high to get pipe in the ground that everything went classified, top secret, CIA level. Don't want to talk about it, right?
Right.
And
That's the culture.
Right. And so we're kind of still in that mentality where we say, okay, we want to keep everything so classified because we're afraid that if I tell someone where I'm going to go, then someone else will beat me there.
Right.
And so that education process, we haven't really seen it work itself out. So I would be interested to see how would it work itself out if we said, okay, hey, this is what we want to do. And I understand that, hey, we want to be free markets. We want the companies to compete. That's good for us. If you talk about international stuff, you see the problems when they don't do that. But yeah, I think that the shale revolutions have been very great for us, but they've also caused some maybe unintended consequences.
Well, what's funny is the people in Texas know this industry, especially South Texas, like you're saying. So they've heard, they've seen and heard the fortunes that have been made or the wealth that has been made, even by everyday people. Maybe it's not a fortune, but if they're fracking, on your property or under your property, it's a nice benefit to you. And they see that in places like where I'm from, which is Ohio. So you're looking at Utica Shale and some Marcellus over on the West Virginia, Pennsylvania side of it. These are people who have almost no experience with energy. So when an outside group comes in and tries to make fracking scary, they can find some purchase there. And so, unlike in Texas where they're like, please, fracking, that's an old word from the 1940s, been around forever, big deal. And so culturally, as you're saying, it's a huge difference. Like, I'm one of the few Ohioans. I'm obviously a Texan by choice, immigrant. But, I would love for the landman to show up at my front door and say, I want to frack under your land. That would be the best day of my life to potentially, And so not only am I not afraid, I'll roll out the red carpet for him, But anyways, I think that's a lot of what is going on, and we're going to see in the Texas State House this year whether or not eminent domain is going to change because it's so hot right now. I mean, it's just everyone's concerned, and uncertainty is bad. So we need someone to just lay out what's it going to be, so people know what they're doing going forward.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir. Please.
I'm curious because you mentioned being from Ohio. We didn't actually work in those areas, but we had some clients that went up to there. And one of the things that they talked about was how people viewed labor in the Northeast is fundamentally different than they do in Texas, and that caused some issues. So I would love to hear I know I'm not supposed to be interviewing you, but I'm just curious. That was some of the problems that they had was they went up there and they have a lot of unions and everything's unionized. And,
right. And you know what? That's a perfect place to take a break because that's a kind of a big topic.
Okay.
So hold that thought for just a second. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Ryan Ray. He's the host of the Global Energy Leaders podcast, which I will be joining him on that next week. And he's also the director of operations at R Square Global. So you're listening to Jacki Daily. We'll be right back.
And once again, thanks to Jacki for having me on. Really enjoyed the time there. It was neat to go to the Blaze Studios. Get to see all behind the scenes, and they gave me a little tour. So I had a blast doing that. So again, thanks to Jacki. Check out her show. You can find it on iTunes and Stitcher, and she names off like 30 different places when I was on set of where you can find her stuff at. So she can find her anywhere. It's the Jacki Daily Show. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, keep climbing.
Thanks for listening to the Global Energy Leaders podcast, powered by R Squared Global.